Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jack, this is Jthbooks, and it is time for the May reading wrap-up. So, once again, I'm not in the usual spot, am I? I know. We'll get back there soon, I promise. We'll get it sorted. But let's talk. Well, let's be honest. I read 9 books. I read 9 books this month, in the month of May. And I can't help but tell you that I'm disappointed. I'm really, really disappointed in that number. I know 9's a good number. Normally I'd be over the moon. I'd be like, do 9 books. But I read the 6 Women's Prize books, the shortlist, in the first 2 weeks. That means I read 3 books in the next 2 weeks. I'm not happy. I was ready to film this and be like, I've read double digits. Not, I read them all physically. I'm the best there is. But unfortunately, it didn't happen, and I don't really know why. So, maybe I just went too hard with the Women's Prize shortlist. Maybe I just went too hard, and I, just outread myself. Maybe that happened. Who knows? But yeah, we only got 9 books, which, no, come on, let's keep it positive. 9 books, a good number. We'll try better in June. We'll try better for June, but oh my goodness. Only 9. No, stop. I just said I have to be positive. What is wrong with me? So, like I said, for the first 2 weeks of May, I was reading the 6 books on the Women's Prize for shortlist for fiction. There's a vlog. There is a vlog. I'll link it down below. Please go watch it. I worked quite hard on it, even though it's still sort of crap. And the book I started with was Brotherless Night by V.V. Ganeshathan. I think that's right. I haven't got the book here with me because I borrowed them from the library. So, I'll insert a picture, of course. And, this is a story of a young girl who dreams of becoming a doctor. Her brothers are, well, one was becoming a doctor, 2 becoming engineers, and civil war breaks out in their town of Jaffna. And my goodness, this was an extraordinary book. I really loved it. It's a close second. Well, I won't reveal that. But strong contender for the prize, I think. I really was quite moved by it, and I really enjoyed it. And like I said, there's much more detail in the vlog down below, so if you want to watch that, please feel free to watch that. But I think this is really beautifully written. I think it's a really stunning novel in its storyline. I think the author balances it so unbelievably well. I just loved it. I really, really loved it. It's a really strong contender. I won't be disappointed if it wins. And then, on the prize, secondly, I read Wren The Wren by Anne Enright. Now, this is the story of a mother and daughter's relationship and how they deal with each other and themselves. It's a bit plotless, I'll be honest. I did enjoy it, not as much as Brotherless Night. I struggled with it in the beginning. Sort of maybe the last 30, 40 pages, like I say in the vlog, I really did start to enjoy it. I think it had some really beautiful passages in it. But other than that, it was fine. It was fine. I think I gave it like a 3-star, but it definitely got better as it went along. And I can appreciate, once I got what it was about, I could appreciate it more. I will tell you that much. But wasn't my favourite of the bunch. Let's be kind and leave it at that, shall we? Thirdly, I read Enter Ghost by Isabella Hamad. Now, this is the story of a woman who is an actor here in the UK, and she visits her sister in Haifa, where she ends up putting on a Arabic version of Hamlet. Now, I think this book is really quite something special. I can't even really tell you what is special about it. It just has that feeling. It just gave me that feeling that I get when I know I'm reading something special. It just elevates it. I think it's really beautiful. I think it's really cleverly done. I like the way the author played with the form of the novel, in the sense that when they were rehearsing, we read it, the reader read it like a play, and it was really, I just thought it just made it fun and it was interesting. And I loved all that it had to say, and I loved how it looked at translation. I loved how it looked at I just loved it. I just thought it was unbelievable. I really, really think this book is something special. If you want to watch the vlog and see which one I picked, then stop listening right now. when I just stopped listening because I want this one to win. I want this one to win. I just think it was something special. I really, really, really do. And I loved it. I just thought it was so good. Next up, I read River East, River West by Aubrey Lescure. Now, in this we follow Alva in 2007 as she grapples with her identity and her life in China. And we also follow Lu Fang in the 80s, and we follow his story and how he becomes her stepfather. That's very basic. I liked this book. I thought it was immensely readable. I thought it was enjoyable. I just think it's a story, like the baseline story is something we've heard before. I think I've read this book before. Obviously in this, you know, the setting and the names and the characters are different, but at its core, I really do think I've read it before. But if it wins, I'm not going to be disappointed. Like I said, it was immensely readable. I read it so unbelievably quickly. I couldn't put it down. I just would have liked maybe a bit more depth in it. I feel like some of it was quite unforgettable, and I just wanted a bit more from it. But it wasn't bad. I'm not sitting here saying it's bad. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it. But I just wanted a tiny bit more from it. I just wanted more depth. I wanted more. And Lu Fang's wife and Alva's mother, I would have really liked a perspective from her too. I think that would have really benefited the book, and I think it would have been higher on my list as a winner. But like, it wasn't bad. If, like I said in the vlog, if you're thinking of reading it, go ahead. I think you'll enjoy it. Next up, I read Restless, Dolly, Maunder by Kate Greenville. Now, I remember that. This is just a story of Dolly's story. That's it. That's the summary I'm giving you. I'm going to give it that because I don't think this is a good book. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm shocked that it made it onto the prize. Like I said, I read Western Lane last month because I thought it was going to be on the list, and it's much better than this book. I can't believe this book is on the list. There's no depth to it. It has massive time jumps. I can appreciate that it's a bit of a true story. I do believe that Dolly, Maunder, was Kate Greenville's grandma or great-grandma, and I can appreciate what she done, but I needed more depth to it. It was too time jumpy. I didn't like it. I just can't really believe it's on the prize. I just couldn't get into it. I didn't like it. I'm going to stop talking about it before I start just repeating I didn't like it, which is what I've already done. I didn't like it. Then, lastly, for the Women's Prize, I read Soldier Sailor by Claire Kilroy. I'm actually holding a book. It's because I already own this one. I had unhauled it. Then it made it with the shortlist. I had to get it back. In this, we follow the story of a new mother who is telling her story, basically, of what it's like to be a new mother. This is a reread. I was unsure whether to reread it or not, but I decided to, and I'm glad I did. I did appreciate it more the second time than I did the first time. I think it has some really beautiful passages in it. Other times I actually think it's a bit overwritten. I'm going to be honest. It would not surprise me if this won. I know a lot of people love this book. I'm a bit in the minority of people who don't love this book. I tried to be cohesive in the vlog, but then Amelia, if you're watching, you commented and you just sort of said anything I wanted to say in a much more intelligent way. So I feel like I should put Amelia's comment up here, but I wouldn't do that to her. But yeah, it's just not for me, this book. It just isn't for me. But I can appreciate it on some certain level. And like I said, if it wins, I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not going to be like, I'll be disappointed because I think there are other books worthier, but I think it really stands a strong chance. So I know that was a very quick wrap up of those 6 books, but I want you to watch the vlog. If you haven't already. Like I said, it's linked down below. But I think it was a great prize. I loved how I was reading stories from all over the world. I love doing it. I want to do it again next year. I can't wait to see what the winner is. And yeah, I just loved it. It was a really great experience. And there's some cracking books on there. So if you want to pick some of them up, I highly recommend it. And then for my non-fiction of the month, I read Deep Sniff, A History of Poppers and Queer Futures by Adam Smith. Now, this is the history of poppers, which are very prevalent in the gay community. But what I like about this, and what I find a lot with a lot of queer non-fiction, it often becomes broader. It tells a bit about Adam's story. It tells about the history of sex and the history of raids and queer life and AIDS. And I think that's what makes it really, really good, this book. I really enjoyed it. I think it's got some really beautifully written bits in it. It sort of made me nearly cry a little bit. None of these books really made me cry, I've just realised. Listen to this. I love this. I love this. Queer utopia is the feeling that your body is yours. It's free and full of potential, and it is not poisoned by anyone or their ideas. Our categories, our shame, and our stigmas, they are all poisoned, and they act like cyanide. Oh, this is why I love queer non-fiction, because you get passages like that that just make me feel seen. They just make me feel seen, and I'm like, oh, you get me, I would get you. Let's hang out in real life and let's talk. I wouldn't want that, because as you know, if you've been here before, Adam Smith was actually in the store when I brought this, and the very kind worker against the word Jim said, would you like to go and meet him? And I said, absolutely not. I'm too shy. So this is a really interesting, even to turn that story embarrasses me, but this is a really interesting look, and I've had it on my TBR for ages. I'm so glad I've read it. Then we have the book you voted for this month, which was Love in the Big City by Sang-Young Park, translated by Anton Her. Now, this is the story of Young, who is just a bit lost in the world, really. There's a vlog for it. I'll link it down below. You should go watch it. It's got a bit of bacon in it. It's got a bit of a book haul in it. Enjoy it. It came on a Thursday, and when I post a video on a Thursday, no one watches it. Mondays, they do all right, but when I post on a Thursday, absolutely no one watches it. So, if you're watching it, go watch it. Leave a comment on the vlog and tell me you watched it from this. No one's going to do that. I don't know why I said that. But in this, we follow Young, who is very much lost in his life. He's unlucky in love. I just hit myself with the book. He's unlucky in love. His mother is ill. And this was a 5-star prediction for me. It didn't hit it. It was a 4-star. I did really enjoy it. I know I keep saying this, but it had some really beautiful passages in it. I really liked its writing. I liked that it was filled with sadness and just sort of tinged with melancholy. I really enjoy that in a book. And I just wanted him to be happy, and I love the way the author talks about love and the way the author talks about sadness and disappointment. It wasn't sort of much of a linear story. It's almost like sort of four short stories that connect together, and I would have liked a full story, like I said in the vlog. If anyone wants to write a 500-page book, I'll read it. But I loved reading queer Korean fiction. If you have any more, let me know. I would love to read more. I loved how modern this book was and how fresh it felt. And yeah. So it wasn't a 5-star, but it wasn't a disappointment. So don't get that twisted. Then, lastly for the month, I read Private Rites by Julia Armfield. Now, I haven't even hauled this yet. It came and I picked it up straight away. I was very lucky to be sent this. I actually asked for a copy and they said no. And then it just showed up at my door, and I was like, thank you. One of my most anticipated books for the year, and it has not disappointed. In this, we follow 3 sisters, Agnes, Irene, and Isla, who have to sort of come together when their father dies as the world is ending, or what it feels like it's ending. And it's told in 2 parts, this story. And the first part is very detailed of the sisters' relationship and the relationship they have with their father and how they are sort of struggling in their lives. And it's really intricate, it's really detailed. It's Julia Armfield, so it's really beautifully written. But always lurking in the background is the world is ending, or it feels like it is, and then the water is rising and you can't get to places, and rural villages have gone because this water is rising. But it's so in the background and so in focus is these sisters' problems and how they feel. And I think Julia Armfield has done something incredibly clever here, because we feel it too as a reader, and in our lives we get so wrapped up in how we feel in our lives. And then when part 2 happens and the world ending becomes much more prevalent, that's when you realise what a genius I think Julia Armfield is. And boy, oh boy, do they know how to end a book. It just becomes gripping, and I think the writing in the second half is so unbelievably wonderful. There's so many sort of quotable moments, and it's one of the best books I'm going to read this year. I think you'll feel the same. if you love a detailed, intricate sort of story that almost feels plotless and then becomes really plot heavy, oh, it's so good. It is so, so good. It almost took me a while to get into it, but it was so absorbing, so fresh. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. So there we have it. 9 books. A bit of a disappointment, I know, but I did read some cracking books in there. Private Rites, Brotherless Night, Enter Goes. Brilliant, 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 brilliant books. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Let me know how many books you read this month. Let me know what your favourite was. Let me know if you're interested in any of these books at all. I would really love to know. You know, I love chatting with you. It makes me happy. It makes it worthwhile, to be honest, because this channel hasn't grown massively. I don't get like a lot of views, and it's not about that, I know, but when you sort of do get a lot of views, you sort of can't help but feel like, oh, it's worth it. But then I just chat to you all. Like, you leave comments, and it makes it worth it for me. It just makes it, every comment makes me so happy. I love to hear what you've been reading. I love to hear your opinions on the books. Honestly, every time you comment, you might not think it's a big deal, but to me, it really, really is. It makes my day, and I really love chatting with you, and I feel like I've got to know some of you really well, and it just makes me happy, and I like to be happy. So, feel free to like and subscribe. That helps too. That makes me happy too. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to speak to you all really, really soon.